Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Flight Simulation Association. Welcome to our Flight Sim Media cross community panel discussion. My name is Evan. I'm the co founder of Flight Simulation Association and the host of our live event today. We're about 5 minutes away from getting started. The panel is here and ready to go, probably, frankly, having a bit too much fun in the green room, but that's okay. And as they get set and as people continue to file in, I'm here to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing over the next 90 minutes. Now, because I would never subject anybody to just listening to me without something fun to do at the same time, we've got flightsimassociation.com/contest to keep you entertained. So this is your chance. Enter the Flight Sim Association raffle. If you haven't heard, we are giving away a ridiculous number of prizes. There's more than 40 winners about to be announced as prize winners today on our stream, including our grand prize draw for the Turtle Beach Velocity 1 flight stick, which is coming up in about 90 minutes time. Now, please help us out. Of course, enter the contest, but also consider sharing this link with your friends. We're trying to keep this cross community panel discussion series going into the new year, and the whole point of this is to bring different groups of people together to share between different content creators, different news websites, different developers, and just bring the community together a couple times a year in these big discussions to gain some perspective on interesting topics. And so please take a moment, help us out, share the link to our panel discussion today. You don't have to share the contest link if you want to increase your own chances, but let's get some folks watching and enjoying because we've got a phenomenal presentation coming up, including some really great personalities and perspectives. Now, like I said, my name is Evan. I'm the co-founder of Flight Simulation Association. For those who don't know us, we're the folks who put on Flight Sim Expo every year, coming up in Houston in June. And in addition, we run Flight Simulation Association year-round with guides, resources, discounts, and other benefits, really designed to make it easier to get started in home flight simulation, whether you're somebody who's trying to get into this hobby for the first time, or whether you're someone who maybe is a flight simmer already, but you're looking to take that next step and maybe get a little bit more serious about it, discover something new, or anything else to just continue to advance that hobby. And of course, like I say, Flight Sim Expo is the main part of that. We're coming up June 23rd to 25th, 2023, over in Houston. And alongside that other giveaway I just mentioned, all those 40 prizes, there's actually another giveaway going on right now, which is our trip giveaway contest. So if you head over to flightsimexpo.com, you'll see that we're giving away flights, hotel, and accommodation, as well as some spending money and access to our show. That is coming up. You can actually enter that contest right now, and that goes until tomorrow. So one last chance to enter that contest. At Flight Sim Expo, we have presentations like this one, but instead of me just being here, I'm actually up on the stage, as you can see me there in Orlando. And alongside that, we've got exhibits, demonstrations of the latest hardware, software, virtual reality, all the latest tech. And so you can go ahead and enter that contest for our trip giveaway over at flightsimexpo.com. That is open until tomorrow. And then, of course, our stream raffle today, you can open and enter at flightsimimassociation.com/contest. So flightsimexpo.com for the trip giveaway, flightsimimassociation.com for the Flight Simulation Association raffle that's happening today. And I'll be announcing prize winners twice on the stream, once in about 45 minutes, and then again at the 90-minute mark when we do our grand prize draw. So what are we talking about today? We've got the panel just about ready to go here. What we're talking about is media and flight simulation. This idea actually came from Callum, content director at FS Elite, who you're about to hear from in just a moment. And it's all about the role that different media personalities and websites play in our community. How do they get paid? What types of work do they do? What information do they share? We've got content creators, so people who are out there on Twitch and YouTube. We've got people who are news websites, that's MSFS add-ons and FS Elite. And we want you to just think a little bit more when you click that link to FS Elite to read an article, or when you're watching one of your favorite content creators, about how they do what they do, and more importantly, why they do it. And that's what we're talking all about here today. I'm going to hand things over to the panel in just a moment to get that process started. Now, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure there's a couple of you out there who don't know, Twitch is something you may have heard of. You may not necessarily know all that much about. Twitch is a streaming platform. So it's something like YouTube, or even what you're watching right now, where you can go on to different content creators' channels and watch them. You can watch them fly an airplane, you can watch them play a video game. It's got broad appeal right across the gaming industry, and of course, there's a huge subsection of it devoted to Flight Simulation Association and, of course, flight simulation in general. So, with that background in mind, I'm going to hand things off to the panel here. I'm going to turn my mic on so they can hear me, and that's their warning that we're just about ready to go. Today's session is moderated by a good friend of mine, Sky, who's also a content creator himself. And in addition to that, he's one of our volunteers over at Flight Sim Expo, helping us out with all of the technical design and production work for our show coming up in Houston in just a couple of months. So with that background in mind, don't forget to enter that contest. I'll be back with you in about 45 minutes to do our first prize draw. But until then, let me hand things off to the panel. Sky, over to you.
Thank you so much, Evan. Hello, everybody. My name is Sky Command, aka Sky C, aka Sky, and it is an honor to once again be hosting and moderating an FSA discussion panel. I've got a bunch of great people here to talk about something that I think everyone is very interested in, and it's a relationship of the media and content creators, right? And so we've got a panelist made of excellent content creators and excellent media panels. So with that, let's get straight into the intros. Let me introduce you to Vashko, who's the lead editor of MSFSaddons.com. We have the Flying Fabio, who is featured in a movie called Up in the Air. He's done great films such as Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12. He's also been featured in a lot of telenovela covers in the 90s. He also got hit by a pelican on a roller coaster when he had long hair earlier than then. Flying Fabio. And of course, one of the lead content creators of the Flying Circus, we have Two-Tone Murphy. And last but not least, we have Callum who's the content director of SS Elite. Now, I'm going to just do a quick little roundabout and see how everybody's doing. Callum, how are you doing today, brother?
Jet lagged, but I'm doing good. I just got back from Seattle, but I'm all here. So
you hardly look it. You look great, sir. Two-Tone, how are things, man? How's it shaking?
All good. I want to see that. I want to see that movie again. I told it, Fabio, you were in that movie, dude. It's like no. It's all directed at you, man.
Most people don't know. Most people don't know, but I'm a sound grip in the movie industry, so I absolutely was on that set. Yes.
And speaking of which, Fabio, how are you? Besides looking excellent every day.
Thanks, Guy. I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I'm super happy to be here and looking forward to this discussion. Also, pretty humbled to be sharing the floor with these other folks here. So, thanks for having me.
And of course, Vashko, how are you, my man?
I'm doing great. It's an honor to be here to share the space with all these incredible creators in the community. So I'm very happy to be here and to have this discussion with you all.
Excellent. And to set the tone a little bit, again, I talked about, or I mentioned that this is about the relationship between content creators and the media. And so we're going to get a couple of different perspectives. And if you guys are watching live, please feel free to type in those questions in everybody's chat. I think Fabio's got them, Two-Tone's got them. I've got live channel going as well. What's up, Butter Club? Much love to you guys. And to kick things off, I want to know, how do you see your channel's role in the community, Fabio?
Thanks, Sky. Yeah, it's a really good question, man. It's a question that I ask myself, obviously, right? I get to sort of shape the way the channel moves forward, the way the channel grows. And I've asked myself that question many, many times. Ultimately, I think what I like to do with my channel, what I think the value is in my channel, is a connection between the community and developers. We get to see some stuff early. We get to give feedback to developers. Sometimes we get to interview developers that want to spend some time on stream talking about how they do the magic that they do. And so I've gone through this question a bunch of times. I've gotten to a lot of different answers, but I think ultimately that's the best answer that I found for the channel, is really a connection between the community and Microsoft and the developers and the people that are creating the content that we get to use. I think ultimately that's it.
Excellent. And I kind of want to, not to pick on anybody, but Callum, I know as a media outlet, do you have a defined role as well, or at least you're having an interpretation? What do you think about your role and your channel's role in the community, so to speak?
It's a great question, and I would agree with kind of like what Fabio's been saying in terms of kind of being that voice, being that kind of work. Like, we work with developers and we work with the community, and I think sometimes those lines can be a little bit blurry sometimes. You know, we want to maintain those great relationships with developers, and we want to maintain that great relationship with the community as well. But ultimately, our role is, or the way I kind of see it anyway, from our perspective, is to provide genuine feedback to the community based on products we try, and be as informative as we possibly can be. And also try and kind of just get a feel for how the community are feeling about whether that's certain topics, certain products, or just kind of things as a whole, and see if there's a way in which we can kind of voice that and generate some discussion and engagement, kind of either through our comment section or Facebooks, or kind of leading people to channels like you guys as well. So I think all of our roles here, even in this kind of chat here, I think are very, very different. But ultimately, the way I see it as a media and as a content creator, our role is to provide information, and then, you know, valid information, and then hopefully that will give people a little bit more insight into kind of products before they spend 50, 60, 70 bucks on stuff, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I'm actually glad you mentioned products. I just wanted to give anyone else just a moment just to speak. If anyone else I wanted to add, I definitely have something in terms of my channel's role. A lot of you guys may or may not know about me, but as a smaller channel, especially comparably speaking, I feel like my role is to add a lot of levity and add a lot of humor. Not to say that your content or you guys' doesn't have a humorous slant, but definitely more on inviting a lot of casual audience, you know, take your hat off at the end of work and pop a beer in my chat, right? That's sort of that lane. And often I have to find a balance between that levity and being credible in our community at the same time, right? Because while I'm known for fun, there's still an interesting component about flight sim itself, right? While we can be humorous, there's a certain knowledge set. And with that, I struggle, or not struggle, but I'm also seeking opportunities to be reviewing products and be taken in a serious light. And that actually sort of leads me to my next question. And this will go to Vashko. Are content creators or media partners paid to review products? And if so, do they feel any pressure from that sponsorship to sort of say any certain things? And I ask that as sort of a casual lensed content creator.
Yeah, well, I can only answer for myself and for obviously for our community and our platform. In our case, we do not get paid to review products or to paint them on a more positive light, let's say. But we do get approached by a lot of developers who are looking to share what they are doing and whatever they are planning to do. Or I mean, this is the standard across the creators, I believe. Everybody gets some contacts from developers who are looking to share what they are doing. I like to think that I'm a relatively newcomer here. MSFSaddons.com exists only for about 2 years since the release of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and there was never an instance where a developer approached us and said, "Oh, look, we can offer you the product or pay for a fee or something." So that you can give a positive feedback about our product. That never happened, not once. We do have requests to either for an advertising, but that's separate from content. I mean, an ad is not related to what we write on a daily basis. So that's it's not editorial content. So it's a different aspect of this, but it actually, and I actually find that interesting because I also work on the advertising industry, and in these 2 years, it would be safe to believe that someone eventually would try to get some leverage. And I mean, we have big developers in the community. We have very large pockets. They could easily offer that, and but on the other hand, on the other side, I feel like developers also value the credibility of their own image and the credibility of the platform. So I don't see that happening here. But I can only speak for myself. Probably streamers. I don't know. I'll let Fabio and Murph talk about this, but they probably get approached in a different way in this subject.
I'm curious. Are you guys approached in a different way, Two Tone?
No, how are you? Not really. It depends, right? So when you come to live media or live content creation videos, right? The first challenge, and I'm speaking for myself, but I imagine we're kind of all the same. We all look alike, you know. But the idea behind it is, if a developer approaches you to say, you know, hey, we got something, we want to show it off, there's a little bit of thinking you got to do. I mean, if the add-on or the product is just not where it needs to be at, well, you got to make a decision. As a content creator, you're going to say, right, okay, are we going to kind of, set this thing on fire and say it's terrible?
Mm-hmm.
Or, are you going to give a bit of feedback to the developer? And I think, the latter works because not every add-on that's pushed out is going to be at a certain standard that we're used to. And, you got to be, I won't say you got to be careful, but like, if you kind of scare away developers who are trying to make a product or bring a product out, and if it's not received very well at the start, well, they're probably not going to talk to you. At the same time, well, I mean, you almost feel duty bound that if you get your hands on something that's early release or it's still a work in progress, and people are really going to enjoy this thing, well, you want to make sure that you can still keep that connection with more developers down the road. I mean, that's really important. So, like, if you go too harsh at the start, at the same time, that's why we've gray hair. If at the same time, if you don't be honest about the product, the viewers, I mean, we're all flight simmers, all of us, we're going to know fairly quick if this guy is talking absolute rubbish because, this guy said it was great and, it's not. So there's always going to be a very fine balance there. Like for myself, if any sort of commission or earning that comes from reviews or otherwise, but they're not really there. I mean, it's some developers might give you an option to say, can you do a review? And, you'd be chatting to them to say, well, listen, it's going to be opinion based. It's based on how I'm going to see it. And, I've never come across a developer who hasn't allowed me to kind of proceed like that. I've never heard a developer say to me, no, just tell them it's great and here's a few bobs, you'd be grand. That's never happened. And it all depends maybe on the size of the channel perhaps, or how long people are involved in the space. And that's what's kind of interesting even for tonight, because from the live content creation between Sky, myself and Fabio, we're all aiming at roughly different areas within our community. There's different sizes and, there's different interests. It's the good vibes, it's kind of the general aviation, and then it's more into the, the airliner stuff. There's a lovely kind of an ensemble, if you like, of different content, and it all kind of reflects around that. I mean, the PMDG stuff, the 737 and the DC-6. I wouldn't feel anyway confident at the start looking at these things, and Fabio was able to nail it. Likewise, when it comes to some of the general aviation stuff, I'm looking at it going, yeah, I can do a thing. I'd be comfortable with that. So I think it is, it's a super great question. I mean, I've often looked at other content creators, be it on YouTube or on Twitch, and like I'm kind of sitting back in my chair thinking, why are they so, enthusiastic about this product? It's really bad. And then there's other stuff I'm looking at thinking, why are they giving this guy such a hard time? I mean, it's bad, but it's not that bad. You know what I mean? So you're wondering what the angle is. Are they being motivated for it or what? Like, so yeah, it's an interesting one. From my own experience, though, any developer, and like very, very lucky, I've spoken to many, and they all share the same kind of ethos. No, what's your opinion on this? Just feel free to. We want to know what you think, and that's great, because then that knowledge you can part it on to your own community to say, maybe wait, don't buy it yet, or this thing is really good, and if I like it, I think you should have it too.
You touched on two very important things. One is sort of having that open dialogue and maintaining that relationship between the developers and when you do get that product early. The second, and probably the most important, is that yes, we do look like twins.
Yeah, right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you from Leitrim? Come on now.
But you're touching on that open dialogue there, and I kind of want to toss it to Fabio. What happens when you have to maintain that dialogue, particularly when the product or that the feedback is going to be a little bit less than positive, right? That it's heading towards not the way either one of you wanted to go.
Yeah. So I think, like many things, Sky, it's it starts with setting proper expectations, right? So when I contact a developer or developer contacts me, that's one of the first things that I say is that, look, if I do this, I reserve the right to say whatever it is I feel about your product, because otherwise, that's not the kind of setup I want to get involved in. Because besides everything that Two Tone said, that I think everybody can relate to, right? Which is, if you get paid to do reviews, it's hard for people to take you as an impartial reviewer. But the other side of that coin is it can corrupt you also, right? So, I never want my judgment, my feedback, my criticism, whatever it is about a product to be clouded by anything. I want to be able to take it in purely and give people my honest feedback. And I think because I set it up from the beginning like that, Sky, I've never had an issue with a developer that was upset with something I said, right? Because the other thing is, you have to play the game too. So you have to be fair about the feedback, right? You have to have qualifiers. You have to be able to do comparisons if you can. So, lambasting somebody doesn't accomplish anything. Giving constructive feedback, and you have to keep in mind that a lot of developers that come into this industry have never done this before, right? Or if they have, it was in a very small scale. They're not big companies. We do have those, but those are the exception. The vast majority of content for the community is produced by individuals. And so you have to be conscientious of that you're dealing with a human being that has probably poured a lot of work, a lot of love into this. Sometimes that's not the case, and usually you can spot that right off the bat, right? But normally it is the case. And so you want to be conscientious of the fact that, look, you're dealing with probably a work of love that somebody put out there, and they may think it's great. They may not know the references that are out there. They may not have experienced the same things that you have experienced. So at the end of the day, I guess the answer, Sky, is you have to be compassionate, right? But you also have to be honest. You're not going to win any favors with anyone, including the developer, by saving your comments, by trying to spare somebody from a criticism that's fair.
You guys are making my job really easy. You're talking about tailoring your language to benefit both parties and making sure that it stays beneficial on both ends, right? Not to overly summarize, right?
We'd be really good as politicians, wouldn't we?
I was going to say the double talk is
please no. Please no.
No, but you're touching on something important, right? It's like, okay, if you have something on hand that is, well, you set it up from the beginning, right? To make sure that you can have that open dialogue, right? You maintain that authority about yourself in that working relationship, right?
Yeah.
Now, to me, that inherently means that you are dictating sort of the language between each other, right? It's going to be like, hey, I'm going to say what I want, but when I do address those things of concern, right, it needs to be taken seriously, or it needs to be calibrated a certain way, especially when you talk to the public. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this goes even with just talking to any other person about anything. Respect goes both ways. And the moment you earn it, you earn it. The moment you lose it, and you know both ways, right? So it's about maintaining an open dialogue, but a respectful dialogue with the developers because ultimately we have the potential to help them, right, realize a product to be better than they originally thought it could be. And then everybody wins. So there's no reason not to do that.
I'm curious. I'm going to just quickly change sort of the perspective of this tailoring of the language, and I'm going to toss it to Callum really quick. And it's, walk with me here. Give me a little bit of rope, right? Of how we tailor our language between developers. How do you tailor your language between sort of advertising and paid content, right? Versus your own words, sort of predefined language or sort of notes that they need to hit. Can you sort of give me a little bit of that sort of relationship or how you distinguish between the two?
Yeah, of course. I mean, just to go back to one of your first questions, and from our perspective, in the last 7 years I've been doing this, we've never, ever been paid for a review, a news article, or anything like that.
Right.
Just to kind of really nip that in the bud.
Thank you for clarifying.
I get it all the time. In fact, we had it like 3 days ago when we wrote an article. But anyway, I think your question is really interesting, and it's something that I think all of us, at least certainly from us, there sometimes is kind of that not struggle, but there's finding that balance, because ultimately we're very transparent. We have ads. You go on our site, you'll see a bunch of ads. We need ads in order to sustain what we do as a business, because that's ultimately what we are. In order to attend events like FS Expo, and we went to FS Weekend, and all of those things cost us money. We can't just send people for free, and sometimes we do get invited to events, but there's still expenses that need to be incurred, and server costs, and the costs go on and on and on, and we need to make money from those. The only way we can make money at the moment is through advertising. So we have two types of advertising. We have kind of what I like to call like the indirect advertising, which is the more generic kind of googly ad type of things on the site, which we don't control. They are just based purely on whatever the algorithms think.
Yep.
But we also have the ads from the third-party developers. So at the moment, we've got, just to name a few, we've got Orbex working with us, I9 Builds, Latin VFR, Aerosoft, and a bunch of others. And it's, we're very, very clear from the very beginning. If you advertise with us, you are paying for this little space here, or this space here, or whatever, and that's all you're getting. You're getting the space. You're not getting me. You're not getting my team. You're not getting favoritism. You're not getting a priority. You're not getting any of that. And we have a very detailed contract between us and between them that they sign and we sign, and we renew as and when. And all of that is very clear, and there are clauses in there that say our opinions remain valid. And we've always stood by that, even in the last 7 years. And it's got me into trouble. We've had people pull out of advertising. We've had developers not pay us hundreds and hundreds of dollars and stuff, which put on the lines going to events and stuff. But ultimately, we were like, our integrity is so much more important to us than kind of any dollar could be given to us. And I'm sure that's the same for any content creator and streamer and stuff. So we have had very tough conversations with developers when we are less than favorable about a product, because that's genuinely what we think. I've had death threats from some developers.
Yeah, we call that Tuesdays on stream. It's fine.
We've had we've had all sorts of emails in the last 7 years and communications and stuff like that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, as I said earlier, our role is to kind of be that middleman between the community and the developer, and kind of give accurate information as much as we can and do it to the best of our ability. And we're not perfect. We admit our mistakes. And ultimately, we still need advertisements, and we still need to generate that revenue, because without it, then FS Elite and it just wouldn't exist. It's certainly not to the capacity of which we could go to events and try and create as much content as we can. And I imagine it's the same for you guys as well as streamers. In order to have really cool studios, I mean, you've got really cool like setups and stuff behind you and good equipment. You need to buy that, and in order to kind of produce better quality content for your viewers, you kind of need to have that revenue source in order to invest back into your community and back into your streams. And that's exactly what we do with kind of the revenue we get from advertising.
So the pressure exists, right? But of course, your journalistic integrity has withstand that pressure, and the sponsorships or the relationships you do engage with are mutually beneficial through and through.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I've never, ever caved. And I say that with genuine sincerity. I've never caved to any developer who's gone, wow, we pay you, we need to have a nice review and stuff. And that has never happened. And if that is ever questioned, then we turn off that ad and we say goodbye, end of days.
I was just about to ask, what happens when sort of in the court of public opinion, when it sort of feels that way, right? You may have given something a glowing review, or you may look favorably upon something, when the sort of the community has the adverse reaction.
Yeah, so our review process sometimes comes across really slow, and it's slow for a reason, because we spend so much time discussing it internally with the team. So if I was to write a review, it doesn't then just immediately get published. We send it to kind of 2 or 3 different people within our team who may have very different views on things. Like we don't all agree on stuff, to try and make sure it comes across as balanced as possible. And by doing that, it takes a little bit of time, and I would much rather spend time getting it right from our perspective anyway than kind of rushing it out there and potentially having these people think that we are paid or doing something favorably because we have been advertised. But if that does get questioned, then we're just honest with people. Like, look, we haven't been paid, and there's only so many times I can tell people that before I'm kind of blue in the face, right? And you know, I was telling people this the other day about some article we wrote, but it is true. We're not paid to write a favorable review. And do you know what? Sometimes I'm just going to like a product, and just so happens that they advertise with us. I mean, that doesn't make it like a bad thing, right? And also, we only want to work with advertisers where we know the quality of products are going to be to a standard of which we think the flight simulation community are going to accept and enjoy and stuff. So, you know, we don't let anyone just advertise with us. We want to make sure that the right people are advertising with us, because our integrity and our name's on the line, and that's super important to us. And we've been around for so long, we'd hate to kind of tarnish or ruin that.
Excellent. Vashko, I know you're in the similar space. I wanted to make sure I gave you room here. Care to add on to some of those same relationships and bowing to that pressure, or, you know, if you have any pressure, if you can talk a little bit about it?
Well, I could just sign below everything Kellen just said. Mine is the death threats.
Good. We like to, you know, be alive. Go ahead.
Yeah. But we also don't feel that pressure from the developers that advertise with us. But like Callum was saying, this is a balance that we need to strive for, which is on one end to have a way to support the channel, the website, and keep having the motivation to do this every day. And I mean, it essentially it also enables us to buy the product. Sometimes we get them from the developers, but we also need to buy them to test them out and write about them, knowing exactly what we're talking about instead of just reading the features list. But we obviously we need to keep this balance between having the necessary support with the advertisers that we have, and it's very much the same case with us as it is with FS Elite. We have the generic ads which we don't control, and also then we have the ads from the creators, the developers. But we never felt the pressure from advertisers. Actually, sometimes we've spoken less favorably about some developers who we run ads for, and it never came to the discussion, oh, we are paying you, so you should write something more positive about us. Or even sometimes some developers are very prolific. They have like new stuff coming out sometimes every week or something like that. And we also feel like we have the responsibility to provide some balance and give the same attention to big developers who are very well known and they have their own channels to communicate, and also with the small developers. So we always try to find that balance between I mean the new products that are coming out that everybody knows about, but also to introduce. And I feel like we have that responsibility to pick up on those smaller developers who do some good work, or sometimes they don't even do that brilliant work, but they are starting out and they are showing promise, and they need that little push to let people know about them. And it's always important to find that balance, and we like to see our content as a balanced way to let the people know what's going on. In this case, for Microsoft Flight Simulator, it's our only theme. But also, I feel like the advertising, the ads that we run for developers, also try to in the end to provide different kinds of information about what those developers are producing and are releasing to the community.
Pashko, you guys are excellent. You're just leading me right into the next thing. I was going to say, we started sort of what happens when you're well into that relationship. But Vashko, you said you actually try to look for sort of the young developers, the people who sort of need that boost. You're actually actively searching. And that's my next question. We're going to start it to two-tone. What should people who are thinking of becoming content creators do? How do they begin to sort of seek out those relationships, right? And we're gonna go around the clock here, but starting with two-tone, I'm very curious. What sort of advice would you say to sort of engage in the media outlets, or to sort of have that product relationship?
Yeah, like I mean, when you're starting out, I mean, developers aren't going to suddenly send you an email and say, "Hey, you got one viewer. I want to show my products off." So it takes quite a bit to build this up, right? And I mean, that's how I came across. That's how I got my hands on Microsoft Flight Sim back in 2020. I sent an email to everyone at Microsoft.com saying, "Hello, how are you? Listen, I think I have a great idea. You should give me the sim because it's great, right?" And it worked. I got it a couple of days early. But there is such a thing as, Callum touched on it as well when it comes to advertisers. You need to have this mutual understanding, and it's just how you're going to proceed. And Fabio said the same as well. I mean, you got to share the same ideals and goals. You could very easily end up working potentially with it could be an advertiser, or it could be a developer, and you don't share the same goals or opinions. And next thing you're like, oh, this thing isn't any good. Suddenly you don't want to be showing it off, and then you feel you're not able to operate within your own freedoms of content. So there's always that kind of a balance to be aware of. But certainly anyone starting out, and I think this is what's healthy from a viewer's perspective. How can you do things a little bit different? I mean, we all kind of follow the same style as, you go from media creation or even, the news. You're going to check articles on websites, and they are getting better and better. You can see it on FS Elite. You can see it on msfsaddons.com. You can see all the pictures coming in, and more, you're actually getting the author. You're getting their personality and their opinion kind of put in there, rather than the facts and figures as in, it has 6 3/4 inch mesh. They're talking about, this thing looks good. It feels good. It's, it gave me memories of this, that, and the other. When it comes to the live creation or videos or even live streams, it's kind of the same. Everyone is trying to do something a little bit different. And that's it. It's if anyone who wants to get into this space, yes, you can contact developers, but why is got to be the question. They're going to get tons of emails. There are so many content creators. They're going to get tons of emails. Why do they want to be associated to your brand or your channel? And you got to figure out, well, this is why I'm doing things differently, or, I can target perhaps a different audience for them. And that could be down to the style of your stream. I mean, that could be the time zone, the area you stream to, maybe there's an element of the flight sim, but then you do other stuff, and that developer could be tied into different products. These are all the things you got to be thinking about. Certainly getting involved with developers or advertisers, it's not the be all and the end all. It can be advantageous because if you get a product to showcase before your competition, if you view it as such, that's handy. That's really great. It's like, hey, check this thing out, we're showing it off for the first time. In saying that, that's bigger pressure because, as you're showing it off first, you're giving everyone else the chance to figure out how the thing works, and then they absolutely could come back a week or two later with stronger, more accurate production, right? So the whole thing is like, what are we doing? But certainly anyone starting out, it's to identify, what can you offer? Are you doing exactly what everyone else is doing? And if so, I mean, that's okay too, but you're going to find it a little bit difficult. Can you offer something unique? And, a lot of people will say, this is unique, we're going to do it this way, and off they go, and it'll either work or it won't work. And that kind of depends on the style. Like when you look at flight sim content creators, even on Twitch, I mean, we got people who dance, we got people who wear socks, we got people who build sceneries on streams. I wear the wig every now and again. Like, it's all very, very different stuff, but we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to inform and, build communities, keep folks, keep them happy and keep them energized and the whole lot. So it's just figure out, I suppose, the little kind of niche that you want to operate within. That'd be my absolute top advice. And don't wait until you sort it. Like, just start. Never wait to think, I just need to get my camera and all that. Forget all of that, because I go back and watch videos from like 2 years ago and I'm saying, who's your man? Right? It's like, who's your man? So just start. You're going to change it. You know what I mean?
You touched on something. I mean, if anyone is listening at home, find your why. Okay, that is arguably the most important thing out of what Two Tone just said. But Fabio, I want to toss it to you. Anything to add there? As someone who's beginning their sort of content creation life, how do they sort of look up on the horizon and start to engage with media outlets and developers?
Yeah, Two-Tone did a great job, I think, covering a lot of it. And you did too, right, Sky? So find your why. I mean, first of all, why do you want to stream, right? Do you have something to share? Do you have an objective for streaming? And you should have an objective for anything you do in life. The second thing I would say is be yourself, right? Be true to what you want to stream. You know, I've been very lucky with my channel on Twitch, but the channel has taken many different sort of directions, right? As I sort of try to find what is the true vein here that I want to explore. And some of them were very successful, but I eventually found out that I wasn't enjoying being down that path, right? And so I've reined it back. I've said no to a lot of things. I stopped doing a lot of things because I realized I was doing a lot of things because people were telling me I should do those things, not because I wanted to do those things, right? And you know, when you start getting success, you get a lot of people that want to help you, which is really awesome. But I think it's easy to kind of get carried away in what their sort of vision for your future might be, as opposed to what you think you should be doing. So in many ways, I've reined it back. I've kept some of the, I guess, potential success of the channel, but I have a much better time streaming now than I did before, right? It's more sustainable now than it was before. And that's the other thing too, is like anything in life, if you do a lot of one thing, you risk burning out. No matter how pleasurable that is, no matter how much you like it, right? There is always too much of anything. And so finding a way to stream that you enjoy, that brings you back every day, and that satisfies the community, it's a tough balance to find, but that is what everybody should be aiming to do, right? There's certainly a lot of content creators out there that definitely create content just based on what the world wants to see. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I don't know that they have the same satisfaction as the approach that I'm mentioning here. So I think that's what I would cap it with.
Beautiful. I want to flip go to the other side of the coin and, you know, to our media friends. What about developers and people who are trying to get in the space in terms of being media coverage, maybe not from a streamer side, but maybe from a young developer? Vashko, you just said you actually are seeking out some of those young developers, the people who can use that lift. How can they engage with you? What do they need to do to set themselves up for those relationships? Vashko.
Well, I think the first thing they should do is not to be afraid of share their work. I know this is a tricky question, because I feel that many developers, they are afraid that maybe their work is going to be stolen by someone else, or they know there's an alternative project to develop the same aircraft, for example, and they don't want to reveal too many secrets. So that doesn't work. I mean, don't be afraid. The not be afraid doesn't always work with everyone, but with the smaller developers, I would advise them to reach out to us, to share what they're doing. I mean, like Two-Tone was saying a few minutes ago, sometimes we find that work is still not it's still an early work, and still needs a bit more polish, but we freely give that feedback, and then we can come back later to that developer and talk and share the work after it's more polished. But I would say that it would be, I mean, we all strive on new content, so the more the merrier. The more diversity that we have and access to all the stuff people are doing, the more content that we have to share with the community and to write about and to give our opinions and reviews and previews and all of that. So the kind of emails that I like the most is that kind of approach, is when some developer reaches out and says, oh, look, I have this. Sometimes it's already finished. It's a finished product that was just released, or it's something in progress. And that's and that essentially that gives us something that we can share and boost that developer and that work. And I mean, that's good for us because we have new stuff to talk about, and like every content creator, I mean, the advice that Fabio just gave, just to be unique and to find their inner voice. We also, each one of us is trying to do that. So I was saying that we try to promote those smaller developers. So the more kind of content of the more content of that kind that we get, the best we can share that inner voice of our own channel.
The more the merrier. The more the merrier.
The more
Absolutely.
the merrier. Yeah, and there are many examples. I mean, sometimes I think there's one. I mean, there's a lot of examples, but
Vasco, before you do give those examples, I'm so sorry. I just want to give Kellum one more space because we're about to end this first segment. I know there's so much to go on. We've already killed 45 minutes, but Kellum, to close this out, sort of the same question: what are the people who are just starting out who want to engage with the media outlet, right? Either a content creator or a product, or they just want to have a relationship with you. How do they set themselves up for that?
I mean, pretty much what everyone of the other guys were saying. It's funny, we were having this conversation the other day, me and a few other media outlets. Simple press releases are key sometimes, just sending us the information, sending us screenshots. But I think the thing that would really change the game for me and help with, and especially what Fabio was saying about burnout, I've burnt out several times over the last couple of years. I love to hear the story behind the product. You know, I'm personally not interested sometimes in the small little airfields, but if you tell me why you've made that airfield and you give me this story and you give me this kind of detailed information about why this airport is so important to you or this product's important to you, then I'm like, oh my God, this gets me excited. This gets my creativity going. And that to me will help produce a much more engaging news story than me saying this airport is going to be out, it has PBR textures, it has accurate, like, I'm so bored of writing that. Okay, so if you're a developer and you're making an airport, give me something more to write than it's got PBR textures, please, because
beautiful.
I'm so bored of it.
allow me to sort of conclude here, guys. It's what I'm hearing is be yourself, find your why, be excited, right? And be open, right? Vasco said be open about it, and Callum says be excited, right? Two-Tone says wear wigs every once in a while. And you'll discover that those relationships will start to be open. And I sort of agree with that. I mean, it's an interest. I honestly did not expect those answers, but they're genuine, right?
And one more, Sky, and it is be afraid, right? Be afraid because you are going to be afraid. It is not fun sometimes to put yourself in front of a bunch of people. You may not be feeling it that day, or you may think you don't have enough to share, whatever it is, right? Let me tell you, just do it. Put yourself out there. You will find a reason to be out there. You will connect with somebody. So that little knot in your stomach before you do it, that means you care. And it actually means you're ready. Go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, everyone. And that is the first sort of section of our panel. We'll be right back with more coverage from FS Elite, MSF add-ons, Two-Tone Murphy, and George Clooney. Over to you, Evan. Thank you so much.
And good luck to everybody.
Yeah, so thanks, guys. Excellent first half. You're safe. You're on mute, so you can do what you need to do. Take a break, take 5 minutes, and we will be back in about 5 minutes with that panel to answer your questions. We're answering your questions live coming up in about 5 minutes' time. But first, as promised, we are doing a whole pile of giveaways. This is our first of 2 segments of giveaways. Good luck, everybody. If you're watching in the FSA Discord, I want to hear from you if you're a winner. I saw some names of people that were chatting in Discord who I'm about to announce as winners. And if I announce you as a winner, really important, you have to email us to claim your prize. So here's how it works. I'm going to announce your name. It'll be exactly what you entered into the contest. You've got to then send me an email at info@flightsimiassociation.com within 24 hours from today. When you send me that email, I'll reply back to you with the prize information. Don't forget to check your spam filters. Once you've sent me that email, I'll be responding to you. If you haven't seen my response by about the end of the day tomorrow, it's probably stuck in your junk mail somewhere. So make sure you send me the email. That's the most important thing. And for anybody who is not going to claim their prize, all of our unclaimed prizes, they're going to be given away to other FSA members in our Discord. So let's announce some winners, starting off with Any Builds. Our first prize is your choice of an Any Scene airport. You've got London Heathrow as an example here, but you can pick any airport you want. 3 winners of this one. First one is Crom 0025. Second one, Ivan. And the third one, Citizen 42. So if I just said your name, send me an email right now at info@flightsimossociation.com. Let me know which of the airports that you want, and we'll get those on the way. Coming up next, Airfoil Labs, the Cessna 172 NG for newly minted X-Plane 12. This has been called the study level Cessna 172 for X-Plane. Great reviews, great feedback. Bob Bevlavi, number 1 winner, and our number 2 winner, Aviation Media. So congratulations to both of you. Let me know in Discord if you're a winner. Make sure you send me an email, and of course, we'll have more from Airfoil Labs coming up in the second half. All right, Flight Control Replay version 5, newly released as of like a week ago from Fabio Merlo, the software that allows you to replay, change camera angles, and see everything you want about that perfect landing. Works in MSFS, works in P3D. Winners of Flight Control Replay version 5, Bleeman, and I know you, so congratulations. I'll be looking forward to your email. It's a name I recognize. Nagma is our second winner. Third winner, Keith B. So congratulations to the 3 of you. You're walking home with a Flight Control Replay V5. Make sure you send me an email. Up next, hi Rob. Thank you so much for supporting us. For those who don't know, Rob Shearman, host of the Slant Alpha Adventures channel over on Twitch. Rob does something that not a lot of people do. He flies using the old-fashioned VORs, NDBs, all that stuff that we've forgotten about with GPS. And if you're thinking, well, that's crazy, look what happened in Dallas about 3 weeks ago when we had that GPS outage. We had airline pilots trying to remember how to track a VOR. So maybe they should have been watching Rob's channel. Rob has helped us out today with the prize pack. We've got 4 winners coming up. So, hey, Jacob, yes, it does look familiar. Thank you for that. All right, 4 winners. Tilted Captain, I saw your name in the Discord earlier. Echo Tango, our second winner. Sem Hage, thank you for the question, by the way. You're our 3rd winner of that Slant Alpha Adventures prize pack. And DGS 3013, our 4th winner. Make sure you guys send me an email, and I'll send you back with the details on what those prizes include. We're still going. I mean, this prize list is just crazy, and this is only the first half. We are still going. This is the Cessna Citation 510 Mustang from our friend at Coxper, who was chatting along with us just a few moments ago. Great reviews, great business jet from Microsoft Flight Simulator. Winner of the C510 Mustang, GS and, or possibly GSAND, or some combination of those letters. I have no idea. Either way, go ahead and send me an email, and we'll get that on its way to you. Vertical Sim, another one of our friends, Andrew, has jumped on. They make scenery for Microsoft Flight Sim for X-Plane, and he's been on a tear recently with some great new airports. You can pick your choice of Vertical Sim scenery if you are K3. So K3, make sure you send me an email. Kodiak 100 bundle, not just the wheeled one, not just the amphibian, but both. Winner from SimWorks Studios is the Limbics. And I saw you chatting along in Discord as well. Congratulations. Don't forget, send me that email when we are done here today. And finally, last but not least, in our first half, Just Flight has come through with the 146 Professional, cool-looking airplane from Microsoft Flight Simulator. Big thanks to Scott and Just Flight for helping to support us. Hope to see you guys in Houston again. Alrighty, last winner for our first half is James M. James M. So hopefully we got some of you folks in Discord. I see people chatting along. If we announce that you're the winner, make sure you send me an email at info@flightsimossociation.com over the next 24 hours. Any unclaimed prizes, those are going to go back to our community in Discord. And of course, make sure you check your spam for my response back to you by probably the end of the day tomorrow if I don't get to it tonight. I think everyone's back. It looks like we are good. Sky, how's it looking over there? He says he's finishing his jazz flute solo, but I think the answers they're ready to go. So I'm going to bring their audio on. I'll bring you guys back up on the screen. We'll be back with our second round of prizes at the bottom of the hour, but now we're taking your questions. I've sent everything Sky's way, so he gets to decide what question is worthy of everyone's time. Good luck with that, and here you go.
That's right. You're in my hands. Oh, wait. Halloween has ended. Hello, everyone. We're back with the second half of our panel discussion. With me, of course, we have Vashko from MFS. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Addons.com. Okay. We have Two Tone Murphy. We have Callum from FS Elite. And we have George Clooney.
Come on.
And of course,
Every
yours truly,
time.
Sky Command. We're back. Yeah, it's not gonna get old. Really quickly, guys. Everyone who has a channel, everyone is live in their own channels. I think Two Tone's got one going. We've got Fabio, he's got his going, and of course the Butter Club. I see you guys. Go ahead and type your questions in the chat. This section is going to be a lot more informal, so a great opportunity for you guys to engage with everyone here. And I'm going to get one started, and then after that, good luck to you. The first one comes from FSA member Sem. As you become a bigger streamer, how do you keep that personal connection with your audience that a smaller channel would necessarily have? Two Tone, over to you.
Well, here's the thing, right? So when you're dealing with content, you know, there's plenty of add-ons, there's plenty of stuff that you want to be able to showcase, but you have to do it your own way, right? So like, you know, I remember starting off. You know, I remember my very first viewer. I was like, oh, I got someone watching, you know, get the hair done, you know, a couple of press ups before you go live. And then you realized that one viewer was a bot. What, you know, it happens, right? But as it grows, you know, people kind of, they start to kind of, you know, they figure you out a little bit, they get a vibe. But what I've found is, you know, especially with my own channel and the whole community, it's when new people come in, you kind of see everything kind of morph in different directions. You know, and I think Fabio touched on this as well. It's some people might have an agenda to say, hey, you know, you should try this or you should try that. Staying true to your own belief system or your own goals, that's so important. Yes, fame can absolutely get you. I mean, you're thinking, oh, you know, was that stream as good as the last stream? And oh, the next stream, that's going to be a challenge. But for me, I've always approached it as, I cannot change who I am, right? Sorry, parents, but I can't change who I am. You know, and it's I am what I am. I what you see is what you get, and as long as you stick to that, you remove any doubt, you remove any worry of trying to impress upon people, or you know, you just be yourself. You can't be anyone else, and if you try to be, people are going to figure it out fairly quick. So it just won't work. So as long as you can stay yourself, and you know, if you see more viewers coming in, or you see a community, you know, gaining a bit of traction, there's more people coming in, just don't forget who you are. You know what I mean? It's you can be streaming to one person, or you know, like 1,000 people. They're tuning in to see you, not someone else. So always try and remember that. Like you can only be yourself. Sure, you can try and be the best version of you can be, and you know, when it comes to our content, you know, I mean, gone are the days of people watching, you know, they're tuning into channel whatever because the sitcom is on. This is live, interactive broadcasting. I mean, that's what it is. I could have an agenda to start off a stream and say, okay, I'm going to talk about this, this, and this, and then, you know, someone on my side, it could be a Colonel Fork or a Gibbo or a Muse fan, anyone, they'll just jump in and say, look at the head in you, Murph. Like, what happened to you yesterday? Oh, wait, and I'll tell you. And that's kind of the way to do it. So if you just don't forget who you are, and just focus on being who you are. Just that's it. That's the best advice I could possibly give.
Fabio, you're one of the bigger streamers here. Care to elaborate or add on?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge for me because I always want to pay as much attention to everybody as I can, right? And you can't. Obviously, after, you know, whatever number you get to, it becomes impractical, really. And so it is one of the sides of streaming that always bothers me, right? Is the fact that I can't answer everybody. I can't reply to everyone. I can't give everybody the attention that I would like to give them. I've made peace with that, obviously. I'm still, you know, some people would say relatively sane. So I've made some sort of peace with it and moved on. But one of the things that I try to do, and you see me doing this with, you know, rating small streamers, people that have just one person watching, something like that. I'll do the same thing on my messages, right? I get dozens, sometimes, you know, over 100 messages a day on all kinds of different platforms. And some are the usual suspects, but some are people that I've never heard of before, right? So I try to pick, when I have 30 seconds, I try to pick somebody I've never heard of. I've never seen this name. Let's see what this person is saying, right? And maybe they're just saying hi, maybe they're asking a question, and I'll try to answer that question. And for me, it's a really nice way to connect with the community, right? It gives me pleasure that somebody sent me a message, perhaps thinking like, oh man, he might never, ever read this message. And then they get a reply, right? Which, you know, who the hell am I, right? I'm just a regular dude like everybody else. But
Yeah, that means more than you think.
yeah,
okay?
for them, exactly. I've learned over the couple of years I've been streaming that for them it means a lot more than those 30 seconds mean to me, right? So every time I can, I try to do something like that. And ultimately, I think what Two Tone said, be true to yourself. Don't bend yourself over if you don't think you can do it, right? If you're not willing to do it. I'm a bit of a hermit, right? I don't like communication on a regular basis, so I don't reply to people very often, etc. And it is what it is. Like Two Tone said, sorry parents, it is what it is. It is the way that I am, and so I think ultimately people get to know you too, Sky. They see your stream, they get to know how you behave, and ultimately, like everything in life, if you are consistent about that, then I think, people will accept you for who you are, or they won't, and they'll go somewhere else. And that's okay too, because then they probably shouldn't be here, right?
As a smaller streamer, I'll let you know when I get there. I don't have that problem. Butter Club, you guys know, every single chat, it goes slow. Okay, I can see. We can have full-on conversations before I see the next chat. So I'll let you know when I get there. All right, open questions. Anybody in your chats got them going? Anybody?
I got a few.
Go ahead, Fabi. Take her away.
All right. Fairness is king, so I'll start from the top. I'll start with the first one. Looks like it was Ibanez player. Hey, Ibanez. What were all, and of course, I mean, I'll answer this, but if you guys want to jump in after, please do, right? Because I think all of you have things to contribute. So what were all of the reasons for you to hit that start stream for the first time ever? Did having a large amount of knowledge help push you in front of the camera because you wanted to share it with and help others? And yeah, Ibanez, it had a lot to do with it, because I like to teach, right? I think it's genetically imprinted in me. I can't get away from it. I teach everything I can to everybody, meaning if you ever hang out with me, I'm extremely annoying. So I've always wanted to do that. That's why I became a teacher. That's why I became an instructor. And when I didn't have that job anymore, I wanted another outlet to be able to do it. And Microsoft Flight Sim was coming out, so it was a good opportunity to try. I never thought I would be good at it. I never thought I would enjoy doing it. And then 2 years later, here I am. So that's what happened for me. I'll turn it over maybe Two Tone and Callum and Vasquez.
Yeah, like I suppose, when I started out streaming, I mean, I didn't have a face cam. I started off with maybe a handful of videos. Like I was inspired back in the day by these amazing cinematic aviation videos put together by Q8 Pilot and Thomas Rasmussen, and I remember watching these and I was just like, these look brilliant. I want to try these. This is going to be easy, right? And then you kind of jump in the rabbit hole and you're thinking, whoa, there's a whole load of stuff here. And then you kind of start building a bit of a craft when it comes to recording, and then you're saying, this could be kind of fun to fly it and be chatting. Because it's a very weird and strange and unique thing when you're streaming. I mean, the idea that we're flight simming or we're involved with aviation on my channel, that's kind of almost a byproduct at this stage, because we just jump on and we have a chat and we're having a good time. There's music and there's choice hairstyles, but most of the time we're just having a good chat. And if there's anything there that I have an interest in with aviation, and I would share a lot of the same passions Fabio would in relation to instructing and training. I mean, I do quite a bit of that in my normal 9-to-5 job, but I like to apply it to aviation. I love learning new things. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really matter what it is I'm learning. I mean, yeah, I'm into aviation, sure, but when you're getting into content creation, it's all this digital world. It's broadcasting. It's it's getting your microphone set up so you don't sound like you actually do. You might really want to hear my real voice.
Yeah, you should turn off the voice mod for the audience. Just
you know what I mean, right? It's very high, very high. But then you get into cameras, and yeah, there's lights and there's stuff in the background. But it's all about. I've found in the experience that you get to share with others. And I've said this on my own channel so many times. I race home from work to be able to spend time with the community. I want to know what they're getting up to. It's like it's a little escape, and like you know, the last 2 years with the pandemic, I mean, this absolutely grounded so many people from their day-to-day lives. I mean, a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people had to work from home, and pretty much all of us were told you cannot travel. That's it. And you know, you talk about timing, Microsoft Flight Sim then comes out, and they absolutely gave us the opportunity to go flying at a time we couldn't go flying. I mean, the recipe was just, yes, tick the box, this is going to work.
Not to cut you off there, Two-Tone, but do you remember the number one destination everyone went during the pandemic when Microsoft Flight Sim released?
No. It was Dublin. Go on, it was Dublin.
How about I'll just poll everyone around. Do you guys know the number one destination everyone went when Microsoft Flight Sim was released in the height of the pandemic?
I thought it was everybody wanted to see home.
Exactly. Everyone went home.
Home.
Yeah.
Everyone went home. That's so Dublin. Yeah, we call that New York. No. I want to flip this question on the head just to give some of our media outlet partners a chance. Let me flip this question. What made you press publish on your first article, or on your first, if you run the whole website, what made you hit publish on simplesites.com/template ready to go? No. But what made you take that first sort of leap? Kellen.
Yeah, I can.
No, Vasco, you go. You go, man.
Oh, Vasco. Anybody?
Sure,
Go ahead,
sure.
Vasco. Go ahead, Vasco.
Sure. Callum was 7 or 8 years ago, so you probably won't remember. I'm sure you will.
He didn't call you old.
I was just well, it was a nice coincidence. It was about 2 years ago. I mean, it was a few days after Microsoft Flight Sim came out, and I was at home. We were doing the pandemic, so I was working from home. So at the time I was also trying to start like a side project, something of like a blog or something that would interest me. So it was the time that Microsoft Flight Sim came out, and I also realized at the time that there was just suddenly in the flight simulation community, there was just so much stuff going on. I mean, so many developers starting to announce things and creating stuff, and I felt like, well, this is something that I like. It's a passion of mine to fly at home, and I had been away from flight simulation for a few years, so this was also a comeback for me, a return to me to this hobby. And I thought, well, maybe with all this stuff that is coming out, all this content, I mean, there was a lot of websites starting to show up with downloads, or I mean, with a lot of stuff about Microsoft Flight Sim. And I thought, well, maybe I can create something that, I mean, it's something that I can do that I'm feeling passionate about, which is flight simming, and something that I was starting out again, and provide like a sort of a curated source of content that I thought would be something that deserved to be highlighted from all the old stuff that was coming out. So that was the spark for me. Was okay, there's a lot of stuff every day. I think I can start something that can highlight the best stuff that's coming out, something that I can update daily, that people can just okay, let's see what's new today, some good stuff that's coming out, or something good, cool that's going on, that's in development. So that was the spark for me. It was just to pick up the cool stuff, something the stuff that was getting my attention as a flight simmer, and share that with the world. And then it started out from there, and we are where we are today. At the time I never thought, well, in 2 years I would be here talking with these guys, talking with Callum and Murph and Fabio. I didn't know at the time. I also I think he started about the same time. So it's been an adventure, and it started just like that.
Well, I'm sorry that your highs have led to recent lows, so that you had to sit and talk with us. Hopefully, it's up from here. Hopefully, you're saying that it's an upswing after here, right? Everyone hits a bottom. No,
no, this is a high point.
Callum, anything to add before we ask some more questions from the audience?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I started FSD with a bunch of people because we wanted to challenge what was out there already. I didn't like what other sites were doing in terms of trying to cover flight sim media. And I remember watching some of the coverage from Flight SimCon, if any of you remember those days. And I was just not impressed with what was coming out of it. And I was like, do you know what? I need to do something better. And I've always been an avid video gamer. So seeing how video game websites would cover things like E3 and Gamescom and all those types of things, I'm like, why don't we have anything like this in Flight Sim? Because there's so much content out there. Let's make it exciting. Let's kind of, make it sexy basically, and have so much more out there. And that was kind of the spark for me, was how can we do something differently? And I know we run like a little blog website at the beginning, but the first thing we did actually was create this community charter, which we still have today, which kind of was our guiding principles. And no other site really had that type of thing where they could see exactly what we were about. And yeah, for me, it was just, how do we challenge conventions and how do we do things differently? And one thing led to another, and suddenly we were very transparent about how we do advertising. Then we made a magazine, and then we were just doing all sorts of stuff, just trying to see what was cool and what would stick. And that was kind of the spark for us, and kind of what's kept us going for so long. We just like to try and do things a little bit different sometimes, and yeah, go from there.
Beautiful. Let's keep it going. Any other questions? I know Fabi's got a ton. Two-Tone, anyone in your chat?
Yeah, I got one here from Airlock Doc.
Hit me with it.
How do you deal with those days where everything does go wrong, and how much does something like that impact on your enthusiasm for to do it again after it all goes sideways and down the drain? So I can answer, well, I'll answer this, because I mean, it doesn't matter if you're writing an article, you got to get into a frame of mind, or if you're going to, click go live, you got to get into a frame of mind. I'll tell you what happened to me one day. It was a Wednesday, drizzly, it was dark. Anyway, I came into into the man cave to start a stream, and I had a bad day at work. It was one of those days, and behind me there's shelves behind me, and I don't know what I was doing. I went to turn on like a switch on the wall to turn on me lights or something. Anyway, whatever move I made, and it was a bad day, whatever move I made, my wedding ring got caught in the shelf.
No.
I was like, took the shelf off the wall, broke everything on it, and smashed into all my lights, and it broke everything. Absolutely everything was smashed. And I kind of sat there, like, do you remember that scene in The Simpsons with Ralph, and they whip his jocks off, and the blowing wind, or no, the summer wind came blowing in? That was me. I was like that. And any other time in your life, you'll say, that's it, I'm going to bed. Good luck, and let's see what happens tomorrow.
And good night. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, no, just come on, it'd be grand. And the most amazing thing happened, and it's the like these life living memories. You're always going to have it, because I knew how kind of just down and out, and I just wasn't happy about anything prior to hitting go live. And within 15 minutes, I had the biggest smile on my face. And it was realizing that the pressures are real. From a content creator's perspective, is this a business, or you're always trying to put the best possible standards you can out there, but at the same time, you got to accept that it's amazing how a live audience, or even one simple comment on your content, which could be written or it could be a video, one little comment, if you can kind of reach out to that one person and have an impact on their day, you are perhaps the part or the full reason why someone has a smile in your face. That's like winning the lotto, man. It's like that feeling it gives you. It doesn't matter like that you broke everything, and like, I'm no good when it comes to manual labor. I needed someone to fix that, but it totally took that thing away, just to say, like, it doesn't matter. It really, nothing matters. If you can put one smile on one face, totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Yeah.
I can speak to this question.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please do. Yeah, man.
In fact, it was this time last year we launched our new website that I'd spent maybe like the best part of 8 months working on, day in, day out. We're having a party. Everything was tickety boom. Everything works. You test and test and test. All fine. That button you pressed and then move everything over, nothing worked. And it was just, it's so like difficult and hard and soul destroying, because you've spent so long kind of trying to build something cool for the community, or even for myself and for my team. It was a new website and it was fresh, and it was everything we kind of wanted for a little while, and it just didn't work. And I was sat there at the party, and I had a couple of other people around and a few friends and stuff, and we were talking about it. And it's kind of what you were saying there, Murph, about it takes just that one person sometimes to kind of re-energize you, give you that motivation. So then have to go back away for another 4 to 5 months and just rebuild the whole thing again from scratch. And yeah, it's a pain in the ass. And in fact, if you've checked out our site lately, it's been a bit slow lately because I've had to rebuild another part of it. But it's just an ongoing process, and I think ultimately it's the community that keeps us going, and kind of their comments. And you know, we do get the trolls sometimes, but also it's those positive feedback that we get as well really helps. And you know, it just takes that one person. So yeah, things go wrong all the time. Even writing articles, we make mistakes, even a typo. Sometimes I get the product name wrong, or sometimes I get the air wrong. Exactly right. So yeah, just got to fix it. And we all have those days. You know, it doesn't matter if we're a content creator, if we're, you know, whatever we may do on our 9 to 5s and stuff. Yeah, sometimes it just goes wrong, but it's how we fix it and approach it and stuff. And I think that's the important thing.
I hear it. Let's keep her pushing. Bosco or Callum, do you guys have any questions in your chats? I've got a couple from FSA. Do you guys have any you want to launch?
I have one from me. I don't know if you have any, Vasco.
No, I don't.
So basically the question is, it's quite a long thing, but there's this perception that media outlets and content creators we all hate each other's guts because we all think we are competitors in this space.
Next question. No, you guys suck. Let's keep it pushing.
So they want to know if this is actually true, or if, you know, we are like totally against one another, and just kind of how that works.
I'm just gonna say no. that is wrong. Yeah. I would consider it more of a very fruitful. I'll speak just from my outside perspective of the community here. Is that we're not FIFA big, right? We're not in terms of, we're not Olympics, right? We are all we got, according to some rap songs, right? We are all we got. And so the relationship almost by default has to be a much more collaborative and conducive one, because if it was truly antagonistic, it would stifle the growth, in my opinion, right? We don't have the resources, we don't have the manpower, we don't have the numbers to pick and choose and sort of have a dichotomy like that. I'll let you guys elaborate or add on from there. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say I depend on the news outlets to know what's coming, because I'm not plugged in everywhere, right? So I use FS Elite all the time because they do have, it's a great site. They have great sort of information on what's coming. And I would say that a significant number of stuff that I reviewed on stream came from me finding out about it by reading news about it. So yeah, and of course it goes the other way around too, right? I remember when the PMDG 737 was coming out, and you know, a few of us streamers were picked to kind of show it early. FS Elite was reporting on it too and saying, "Hey, go watch this guy, go watch that guy. They're going to be doing this." So yeah, to me it's a symbiotic relationship. To Two Tone, it's very different, but to me it's symbiotic.
It's very tone. Not the full screen two-tone. That's hilarious.
I was sitting there saying to myself, I'm going to come up with a great one now. I know. The wind was taken from us.
Go back to him. Full screen, dude. Go back.
But here's the thing: like the importance of knowing what's going on around you. One, it can be super, super helpful, right? But two, it can also be, I won't say demotivating, but it could be like, I missed it, and you know, someone else has got that opportunity and you haven't. I think when it comes to like every day, and I don't know what everyone is, what everyone does in the chat or in any of our chats, but like everyone has, I'm sure when they go onto the internet, they have whatever home pages that are saved, right? Flute lessons, Sky. But you know, I'll jump onto MSFS add-ons, I'll jump onto FS Elite, I'll jump onto Fabio, I'll jump onto YouTube, I'll go through everywhere as much as I can, just what's happening in this little industry that we love so much. And that's super, super helpful. I mean, even for my own content, once a week, I'll try and catch everyone up on the best that I can with all the news. And that's reading articles from MSFS add-ons. It's reading articles from FS Elite to, you know, if people haven't got the chance to visit the website, well, sure, look, we'll catch it all up. We're going to let you know what's happening. And so far, I mean, I think a lot of people kind of like that. And you can kind of put your own opinion on it as well. If you see news coming from a developer, about a C-130 that's like, you know, literally is hollow. Well, you can kind of share that information on with people, and they kind of get that. They can figure it all out to say, well, yeah, it's we understand where this guy's coming from. At the same time, and what I've experienced through channel growth and everything else, well, you've like-minded people who also want to do the same thing. So I when I started off, I mean, where from then until now, just from our own little community, there must be 10, 11 other streamers now. There's other people involved in livery design. We got scenery designers, aircraft designers, and it all started from the absolute grassroots level of, hey, here's this Irish fella talking, what? And all of a sudden they're now interested in flight sim. Or maybe it was always there, but now they feel, well, sure, look, if this fella can do it, I mean, you know, so there is an element of that. And I think it's so important, because having choice is a good thing, because it goes back to what I might consider a bad aircraft, or an aircraft that's boring, or not that there is, but you might consider, I'm not going to use that in my content. I just don't like it. Someone else absolutely loves that. So when you can kind of have all these different styles, the difference of opinions, and even when it comes down to like the environment of the stream channel, is it a learning environment? Is it, you know, having the crack and having a laugh and just having pure fun, or is this a balance of both? It's what we offer people. So I think, you know, having the news outlets, having people who are writing articles, because that's still super important, because
incredibly
not
so.
all well, not all media, I mean, you don't have time to sit there and watch a 10 or 15 minute YouTube video. And the style of writing, and hats off to Callum and to Vasco, the style of writing, it pulls you in. There's like anywhere from like even the choice of vocab to how they actually get their points across. And what Callum is saying, you know, he'd love to get more developers try and pitch him the add-on, you know, yeah, okay, it has great mesh,
be excited
has,
behind
you know,
it, right? Yeah,
like it has, you know, 20,000. We corrected the trees, yeah, but that's all the technical stuff.
Right.
Why is this important? And I'm sure, you know, Callum and Vasco would feel challenged when they're looking at add-on and they're like, oh, how do we feel enthusiastic about this? Your man has literally created a weather sock, you know, and they have to like, yeah, but it's the best looking weather sock, you know. So I think it's super, super important. And the more, you know, the more the merrier. But like, I think for me, the importance of having more and more options available, be it from a live streaming, I've said this to Fabio before, I have learned so much from watching his streams. I'm like, how do you do the thing? And like, I'll be asked a question, I'll write it down, you know. Didn't Fabio do this a week ago? Yeah, hang on, I'll go back there and just, oh yeah. And then I'll come back a week later. So,
wait, Two-Tone, you also keep a journal of Fabio as well? I thought it was just, I swore it was just me, but hey, okay, cool. I'm glad I'm not alone.
A4 double-sided, man.
I had to switch.
All right,
to
it was great
myself.
being here. I'll see you guys later.
All right, we're gonna keep it moving. I've got two questions, one from my community and one from the FSA chat, and this one comes from the Limbics, and I'm gonna shoot it over to Vasco. Is the development space changing? We're seeing poor results from existing devs, some great stuff from new devs, things like Kickstarter, etc. How is that changing in our community?
Well, that's a really nice one. I've heard recently from a very well-known developer that business is not so good with Microsoft Flight Simulator. I won't say the name, but it's he creates airports, and I was surprised by that. And I asked that question to other airport developers, and they told me the same. They feel like those guys who are making the airplanes and the aircraft are having the great success, and not so much the scenery developers, because there's a lot of freeware content on that side. So I don't know if this I mean, the third-party community for MSFS is huge. Is the biggest that has been for any platform, and especially the freeware community. And I recently I've had that impression that those developers who are making scenery products, payware scenery products, are not doing as well as those who are making aircraft, because there's a lot of talented people who are making airports, freeware airports, and scenery add-ons, who are competing with those folks developing payware products. That has been something, at least, that I've noticed recently. So
Kellen.
I think probably that it's changing there somewhere.
So it is changing, but in maybe perhaps in a way that is unexpected. I mean, so sorry to clarify, are you sort of aware of that change, or so were you aware of that change, or are you surprised equally so, I guess, to sort of further your line of thinking?
You're asking me, sorry?
Yes, sorry, Bashko. Yeah. So you're saying the developers were saying that it's, the aircrafts are sort of in the heyday in the market, right? And not so much the scenery. Was that a surprise to you as well, or are you sort of reacting alongside?
Yeah, I was surprised from this developer in particular, because it's one of the most talented and I mean, in terms of airports, it's one of the biggest ones. And he told me a couple of times already that he was expecting a few months ago, he was expecting for the big airliners like PMDG and Phoenix to release their products, because he was feeling that that would drive some traffic to big airports. I mean, they were PMDG and Phoenix were releasing their aircraft, and he was hoping that the availability of those detailed airliners would bring some attention to the big airports that he was creating. I mean, I haven't spoken too much with him about that since. I don't know if that's changed recently, but that was the impression that I had, and I was surprised by that. Yeah, because
like you're seeing a change of pace from some other scenery developers. Like when Microsoft Flight Sim came out, I mean, we pretty much said, well, it's airport scenery simulator, isn't it? I mean, come on, and that's kind of where it started. And now you can probably name on your hand, the top 5 best sceneries within the sim, as in airports. And it's Renton is up there, Brussels, just stuff there from Jepson 2001 that's done. Parallel 42 are making amazing things. They're forcing they're kind of forcing developers to change what they're doing. It's beyond of just having an accurate scenery. And it kind of, this is similar to what Colin was talking about, where you got to sell the pitch. I mean, you got to say, why is this scenery? Why are we going to invest in this scenery? It needs to tell a story. And I think developers who are highly skilled, I mean, these guys are artists. They are handcrafting, a true to life representation of scenery. That's not an easy thing to do. And a lot of these guys are only using a couple of photographs, right? And they can still do it. It's amazing. But to help them out a little bit, absolutely, that's where your content creators and your media outlets, that's where people like us can absolutely help you with this, because it has to tell a story. It's not like, here's this wonderful airport and that's it. If it had a bit of a story, but if you sit in the runway for a certain amount of time, you might see a bird fly across the sky, or you might see 2 of them. How many would you see after 10 minutes? Give it a bit of a challenge. Moving through different buildings, add in audio sources. So you're getting a sense of what it's actually like to be there. You know what I mean? That's what I think is kind of starting to miss. Like, there are so many sceneries, and soon, very soon, there will be so many airplanes. They are soulless. There's nothing there, man. It's just like a thing. It's a 3D model with a bit of sound, and there's nothing else going on. I think that's super critical, and that's a good thing for flight simmers, because we're now starting to expect a higher standard, right? I mean, we want more and more and more, be it with a scenery or an aircraft. We wanted to do this. We've had one developer that had an aircraft that can make itself, gather and build up dirt onto the model over time, and save stating, all of these things that give you a sense that it's more than just a little add-on.
Two-Tone, I want to take a sort of a devil's advocate and then ask 2 more questions, because we're almost out of time. But I just want to latch on to something that you guys were touching on, and like, we need to drum up the excitement and add things besides the accuracy in order to sell that product, right? Can I and Vashko, you and the developers were both surprised by sort of the aircraft makers having their day. Can I be the devil's advocate and say that maybe those developers were reading the market incorrectly and assuming that it was as business as usual? Because in previous iterations, right, that was sort of the lacking feature, right? That was what was lacking in the market, was accurate scenery, right? It was always a way to plus up, or the way to level up the accuracy in the sim, not necessarily the models, right? We weren't necessarily into the aircraft. Now we're in a phase, right, where the default scenery is relatively good to go, right? And could it be the case that those developers thought it would be as business as usual, right, where the focus would be on adding scenery where that gap is no longer there, and it could be a misread? What are your just quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're touching a good point. Yeah, I mean, if there was a big change that Microsoft Flight Sim brought to the sphere, was the incredible scenery, not only in the world but also in the default airports. I mean, they are, even if they are stock airports, they are rendered much better than any other existing simulators. So, yeah, that was probably the case. Most simmers are probably with the most of what they're getting from the stock airports. I mean, the aircraft is always the thing that interests people the most. It's what they'll be using the most in flying. So it's natural that people care more about that. And we actually see that with the streamers as well. Like Murph was saying. There's a mention. Oh, here's a great airports developed by X and Y, and the textures are great. And now we are in the aircraft and do the procedures and so on. So
okay. We have two more questions. One is going to be rapid fire, and then one we're just going to end on. This one comes from Chewy Nuts in the Butter Club. It's, what advice would you give yourself looking back when you first started? One sentence, and we'll start with George Clooney.
More consistency, a set schedule. I didn't have a set schedule to begin with. And obviously it's going to be very hard for people to find you online if you're not online on a regular schedule. So that's going to be my answer, Sky.
Kellum?
Ask for help. Don't think you can do everything yourself. And I have been known to do that more often than not. And it's taken me a long time to realize, but surround yourself by people who can help you, because they will pick up where maybe you're not as strong as what you think you are.
Bashko?
Get video content along with the written stuff.
Two-Tone?
If you're starting out, don't delay. There's never going to be the right time. Just start.
Beautiful. And our last question before I toss it over to Evan, and we can be a little bit more deliberate in this. Does meeting people, and this comes from, from Eamon, does meeting people in person help keep your enthusiasm up? And we'll start with Kellum.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so I mentioned at the start of the stream, I'm jet lagged. So I was very fortunate. This isn't a brag, this is just what's happened. I went to the 40th thing, God, what day? Whenever it was. And honestly, I've been burning out for the last few months. It's been really, really tough, as you probably kind of maybe have seen on the site or what I've been saying about like news writing and stuff. But seeing people yesterday, after not going to an event for so long as well because of COVID and all that, oh my God, yeah, my mind was like, right, okay, I'm flying helicopters. This is awesome. I'm doing VR. This is awesome. I'm trying out all these new things. And it's because people are coaching me and telling me what to do. And I'm finally interacting and talking to people again. And even just doing this with you guys today makes you kind of think about things in a different way. And I'm like, okay, that's really cool advice. And, you know, Fabio, I've never really spoken to you before. So this is an awesome opportunity. And I'm a huge fan. So we
paid him an astronomical amount to be here. Okay. Absolutely insane.
That's relative. That's very relative. You got a discount.
But like, it is just, you know, we're talking about shows and we've got Expo and stuff coming up. I haven't been to Expo in a couple of years because of COVID and I couldn't go to the one in San Diego. But all of those things, I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to meet developers again, and especially the new ones who I've never met before, because we haven't had a proper show since MSFS came out, and also the community as well, and people coming up to me and like, for as much as people come up to me and sometimes I guess go like, oh, it's Callum from FS City, and I'm like, oh my God, you're X, Y, and Z, and like, I just love those connections and stuff, and yeah, I'm super excited about kind of what the next few months hold, and going to events and seeing people again.
Bashko, same question. Does meeting people in person help keep your enthusiasm up?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't had the chance yet to attend to a Flight Sim event. I tried to go to Flight Sim Expo last year, but I couldn't. But I have a nice set of friends who also share this passion with me. So this is, I mean, it's to have this common interest and to have people over. Last week I was having dinner at home with some friends, and we started the computer trying to see who made the best landing. So this is always it's always a fun stuff.
That's how you end friendships over here, okay?
Yeah, when you are in the physical presence of someone who shares the same passion that you do, I mean, it makes things that much more interesting and even better.
Beautiful. Fabio, how about you? Meeting in person? Does it keep your enthusiasm up?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to FS Expo, the last FS Expo we had, right? And it was my first FS Expo, my first time also attending an event like that after starting streaming. So it was my first time meeting some people that had seen me online, which was, it's a little strange at first. But yeah, it does energize you a lot, because obviously there's a whole person behind that name, behind the comments that you're used to seeing. And especially, people that are somehow inspired by something you do, right? Maybe not even the whole stream, but you've said something that helped them or something like that, and they bring it up. Yeah, man, that stuff is gold. You can't buy that stuff.
And last, but of course not least, Tutti.
So we had a bit of a get together a couple of months ago in Dublin. I'm the sort of fella, I can go somewhere twice, right? The first time I'll enjoy myself, right? The second time I have to go back and say, listen, I'm really sorry about kind of the last time, right? But meeting people, as Fabio was saying, I mean, there's a thing on the stream that we do that we interview people, we call it the Murph line, and we invite people on for a chat, and it gives a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about these people in our community, because a lot of the time it's a little avatar and a name, and it's like, where did they get that name from? It's like, you know what I mean? And like, you're expecting something completely different than what their avatar or their gamer tag or whatever is used, and it's mad. So, getting the chance to meet real people, it's a buzz, is what it is, because it's fantastic getting to just interact on that level rather than typing or one-way conversation. And like definitely next year, like you talk about building hype, but like for FS Expo, I mean, I'm going to that next year. Do you know? I'll teach you a bit of Irish dancing, Sky. And
oh my goodness, an Irish jig, count me in.
Right?
I'm in. Sold.
But the idea that you can actually now meet people face to face, it kind of brings it all home again, because when you start out in content creation, I mean, regardless of where any of us are sitting, it could be in your living room, it could be in an office, it could be anywhere. We're facing a camera, right? We got a screen and we can see people, but we're facing a camera. When there's people there beside you and you have the body language, it's fantastic. It's amazing. So, yeah, it's great. Plus, people might buy you a pint.
That's my favorite part. Like, let me buy you a drink. All right. That is unfortunately all the time we've got today. I would like to thank my esteemed panelists, Vasco from MSFSaddons.com, and of course, Calum from FSElite.com, Two-Tone, my guy over at twitch.tv/Two-Tone Murphy, and the executive director and the authoritarian of the Flight Sim category as a whole, responsible for every single piece of content that you see on Twitch.
You forgot to say single-handedly.
Single-handedly, yes.
That was part of the contract. That was part of the contract.
Twitch.tv/The Flying Fabio. You can catch all those folks. Guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for joining me on this very excellent panel discussion. And of course, I have been your moderator, Sky Command. If you want some more of me for some reason, you can go to twitch.tv/Sky Command. That's where I'll be. Special shout out to the Butter Club. And a special shout out to the FSA, who is carrying out the FS Expo in 2023 next year. All of these people, I think, are going to be there. Sober, TBD. And to close this out, before I send it to Evan, I would like to engage a 55-minute improvisational jazz solo with my flute. Let me just grab that really quick. Thank you guys so much.
I think that's my
Thank you,
cue. I'm
Sky.
just going to go ahead and switch that all over. Phenomenal discussion from the panel today. Big thanks to everyone who was on participating. It looks like we're going to have to do this again in person at Flight Sim Expo, or at least that's the vibe that I'm getting. So we'll see how people feel about that. But I know you've been waiting patiently, so I am going to do our second and final round of prize giveaways. Lots to come here. So just like last time, if I announce your name or your handle as the winner, your job is to send me an email over at info@flightsimassociation.com within the next 24 hours to claim that prize. I'll respond back to you probably by the end of the day tomorrow with the details on how you claim it, and everything left over is going to our members over in Discord. All right, let's go. Orbix to start off our second half. Orbix are good friends of ours. As you may know, if you sign up for our FSA Captain subscription, you get 3 free Orbix products. But if you're a winner, you also get some free stuff. We're giving away Orbs, their new digital currency, as well as a subscription to Volanta Premium. Our 3 prize winners in order. First prize gets a little more than the third. We've got Fly Doctor Corvette as number 1, Newmark as number 2, and our third place winner, Sergio. So congrats to the 3 of you. Please don't forget to send me an email in chat. I'm still watching, so thank you for all the kind words. Hopefully, I am going to announce your name. Aerosoft up next, another one of our good partners. In fact, the very first webinar we ever did here at FSA featured Macias from Aerosoft. They're giving away the Sea Ray Elite Advanced, great airplane to go and explore different parts of Microsoft Flight Sim in. Winners, number 1, Viper Strike 95. Thanks for the support. Good to see you again. Number 2, Kent. And number 3, the B Klein. I hope that's how I'm supposed to say that anyway. So congrats to the 3 of you going home with that awesome Aerosoft aircraft. FS Reborn, the Sting S4. We've got 4 of these to give away, and these, by the way, are courtesy of Two-Tone Murphy. Big thanks to him for helping coordinate some of these prizes. I think the only airplane in Microsoft Flight Sim, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, that actually has the parachute, which is kind of cool. So the Sting S4 MSFS aircraft winners, I'm going to mispronounce this one, but Gail Multier, I'm going to guess, Gail Multier, number 1. Number 2, Rockin' Rimmer. Winner 3, Moose! All right, awesome. Mustafa is our third winner of FS Reborn's Sting S4. Burning Blue Design up next. Scenery developer for Microsoft Flight Sim all over the UK, and then the one prize in the US is Martha's Vineyard. And they just came out, I think, with Fenland Airport a couple days ago. Really cool niche airports all across the UK from Burning Blue Design and Adam. Our winners there, Beer Slayer, number 1. That's a good name. Number 2, Calypsia 6978, and Merrick 2704. Those are our 3 winners, Burning Blue Design Airports. I'll tell you which ones you've won when you send me your email. Moving right along, Miltech Simulations, the MV-22B Osprey just came out, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. Two-Tone Murphy's already got a prize for us, so that is phenomenal. And our winner there, Jacob. I hope that's Jacob, the same guy who designed that background behind me. If so, congrats. If not, well, congrats anyway. That's still good. Send me an email. I have Seafront Simulations Vessels for the Hawaiian Islands. Really cool scenery add-on that adds to this already spectacular part of the world in the Hawaiian Islands. 3 winners here, again, courtesy of Two-Tone. Delphi Hawk. And, oh, actually, I guess there's just one. All right, well, there you go. Delphi Hawk, you're the winner. Congratulations to you. Make sure you send me an email. DC Designs coming through with the Concorde, probably the fastest commercial airplane you can fly in Microsoft Flight Sim, unless you count the Dark Star, which I do not. DC Designs Concorde, thanks to you for supporting DC Designs. And Lexterio, I'm going to go with that. You're the winner. Congratulations. Send me an email and you'll be flying that new Concorde in your simulator. Next, AnyBuilds. Now, those of you who are paying attention know that AnyBuilds just released the freeware A310 for MSFS with the 40th anniversary edition. Obviously, that wouldn't be much of a giveaway, so we've instead got your choice of X-Plane Airbus from AnyBuilds, some of the most popular add-ons for X-Plane. We've got 3 winners, Lango, Hindsight, and there's another name I recognize from FSA, and Scenic Eye. So congratulations to the 3 of you taking home an AnyBuilds X-Plane Airbus. Airfoil Labs up next, the Cessna 172NG. Airfoil Labs continuing the streak of sponsoring every single one of our panel discussions. So thank you to Andre and the guys over at Airfoil Labs. 2 more winners, Dennis Shep and Harris B. Both names I think I recognize. So congratulations to the 2 of you. Thank you for participating. Don't forget to claim that prize. Flight FX, I know these just keep coming. It's amazing. Flight FX, we've got Marwan's H-Jet, considered one of the best business jets from Microsoft Flight Sim. And by the way, just announced, I think today on MSFS add-ons, the Vision Jet, Flight FX's kind of flagship business jet, is coming out November 22nd. So keep an eye out for that. But for right now, the H-Jet winner is Kythric. So Kythric, congratulations to you, and make sure you send me an email. I'll send over the details on how to claim it. One more prize from Simworks Studios. We've got the Zenith CH-701 aircraft plus the Okavango Delta scenery. So a nice combination airplane and scenery available to Reg Rourke. Congratulations to you. Great addition to your Microsoft Flight Sim lineup, especially in that part of the world. Someone earlier was asking about Africa. Here's a great example of an add-on that's been created for maybe a part of the world that doesn't seem to be as popular with some of our Flight Sim developers. And now, last but most certainly not least, the one, the only, our grand prize draw, the Turtle Beach Velocity 1 flight stick. This is not even available yet. It's just in pre-order right now, but it is coming, and we are going to be delivering one of these directly to somebody's front door. Callum was just talking to me about this earlier on today because he got to try it out over at that event when the 40th anniversary edition was released. Says it's phenomenal. So here we go. Our grand prize winner of that Turtle Beach Velocity 1 flight stick is Silent Departure. Silent Departure. Make sure you send me an email, and if you don't, that's going to get handed off to somebody else. That concludes our prize draw, and that concludes what I think is going to be our last Flight Sim Association webinar of the year. Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists, to you in the chat for having a great conversation with us today. It's been a pleasure to do these streams. We'll most certainly be back with you again in the new year, but if we don't talk between now and then, have a wonderful and safe, happy holiday season. We'll look forward to, of course, seeing you in Houston. Don't forget you can join us over at flightsimiassociation.com/membership. And again, if you're a prize winner, make sure you send me that email because in 24 hours, we're giving those prizes away. Thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, night, afternoon, and take care.